Hello, everyone. You know what? I'm really grateful to my colleagues to have talked to us about how we can learn, the things that we can learn. So now that they've made my job easier for me, is everybody ready to learn about some magic? All right, so this is what I'm going to be talking about today. I'm going to be talking about the pack of magic tricks. As Roseanne said, my name is Rina. I'm Architectural BIM Manager at Fishbeck. We are based in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I'm better known as the Random Revitism Lady. I'd like to introduce a surprise participant, my esteemed colleague and collaborator, mentor, Dr. Revit himself, the BIMologist. He is better known for his AU 2017 presentation on Code Blue, which was one of the most clicked on AU sessions during that year. Now, I'm really grateful for this opportunity. I'm grateful to Ralph for the invitation to the BIM Coordinators Summit, for allowing me to come here and talk to you about my passions. And my main passion in my job is to make my team's job easier and, most importantly, my job easier. Yeah, nobody wants to do too much, right? You want to get by with doing as little as you can, but you want everybody to think that you're doing a lot because, let's face it, to rephrase the old saying, garbage/trash/rubbish in equals garbage/trash/rubbish out. So the cleaner and better you keep your model, the happier everybody is going to be, because remember, one dead project, you could have a project that's slow, it's not syncing, it just doesn't open. You walk into work one day, and yes, it happened to me. The day after I came back from vacation, every single model for one project, because at Fishbeck, everything is under one roof. We do wastewater management, go figure. So if we do that, we do everything else. Every single model from every discipline was dead. I spent the next day just making sure that all of those models came back to life. So yeah, I really want to get by without doing anything. So you bring one model back to life. You have proven your value to your company. You have spared your company the agony of sending a model to Autodesk and having them take 2 days, at least 4 hours, I know that for sure, going up to 2 days just to get your model back. All right, let's get ready for takeoff. The template. One of my pet peeves is walking into a setup where you have got, it's just a practice, they've been doing it. They open up their old template, hit save as, hey, we have a new template. This is the latest and greatest template. No, it isn't. I have absolutely no patience for pushback that says, this is how we've always done it. How do I know? How do I know that this is what they've always done? They don't even need to tell me about it. Do you see that journal snippet up there, which points at a history, a document save history going back to, 2013. That is something that no BIM manager wants to see. Another thing that no BIM manager wants to see is a template with 300 families in it, a template with dozens of view templates. No BIM manager wants to see that at all. So here's what your template needs to be. It needs to be clean and mean. It just needs to have a base point to start your project with. You need families, go to the library. You need view templates. You need details, drafting views. Go to a container file, bring them all into your model. But please do not clutter up your template. You know what really makes me very, very angry? I open up a template and I see a work set for doors, for windows, for ceilings, for floors. If that happens, you can be absolutely sure that something is going wrong. Compared to a start up from the ground project template, The, the cloud shared project template is a much simpler affair, and it's actually more of a time saver than anything else. The libraries. We don't have all of our families in the template. We have them in the library. Here is where you need to work hand in hand with IT, clamp down on your save, read, write privileges. You really don't want anybody modifying your families. You don't want anybody overwriting your families. You know what's most fun? Is when somebody overwrites your families with a newer version. Yeah, that's always fun when that happens. You know what's even more fun? Somebody is beta testing, and they decide to take a detached copy of the project home. And they work on it, and they mess something up. And then they come to me saying, Rina, how come this view doesn't look right? That was actually the only time I sent a model into Autodesk. And here is what I got back from them. Somebody used a beta version of Revit on your model. That is something you really don't want to have happen. So what do you do when you have a really, really cluttered library? You've got a whole bunch of backups being generated by stuff that's been done. Just run a simple batch file. Cleans, it just blows all of the backups away, and you have a nice clean library. Life is wonderful. Something I'm super excited about, the tech preview, because you know what? My shared parameters file is mine. Nobody else can touch it. It's on my machine, and whenever they need to be added to a project, I get into it, I do what I need to do, and most people don't even know that the shared parameter file exists. So this will actually force people like me to be a little more transparent, because here is where your shared parameters file can be uploaded, it can be edited, it can be managed, and you know what? It will be available to people who actually need access to that. Role-based permissions, I live by that. I really don't want to look at every single person I add to the project team and assign them permissions. That's just that would just be a labyrinth. That would just be a total mess that would need to be handled. So the only thing that's better than this is the organization company-based permissions, which completely rule. I've got a consultant, hit one button, they're all in, they've all got the required permissions, because I do not want any outside agencies, any consultants running wild and free through my projects. Not happening. This is a trick that completely blew my mind. When my good friend Deepak Meni from Australia gave his presentation, I think it was last year, on connecting the dots in BIM 360. Using Excel to bulk add members to a project. So my Excel file is kind of wimpy compared to what Deepak showed us. Just 3 people on mine. Deepak actually demonstrated an Excel file with dozens of people on it. Talk about a time saver. Graphic coordination is a challenge I live with every day. As a matter of fact, at Fishbeck now, we are going through an exercise of creating a common template. And every discipline gets a copy of the common template, and then they plug in whatever it is that they need. So the end result of that is going to be a set of sheets coming out of Fishbeck, where all the sheets look as though they've come from the same hand. By the way, it's easier said than done. You don't see the gray hair, but it's there. Now, deliverables. You know what, I was at the Arab stall, and they put a headset on me and sat me down in the virtual train, and everything was going well until they turned the train off. Holy cow, there I was flying above the track at 320 kilometers an hour. It's amazing how real virtual representation can possibly be. So you know, one of the nice things, this example is from Enscape. There are other virtual realization tools that are available, some superior to Enscape. It's really nice when you know you can send a standalone executable to a client. They just click on it, and the walkthrough plays, and they're all blown away, and they're impressed, and it's absolutely wonderful. And they don't even need to have a license. One of my favorite tools to use in Enscape is the screenshot tool. It just gives you generates a really, really quick file from whatever view it is that you have open. Something else that is totally wonderful is if you look towards the left of the screen, you've got the browser. You can click on elements, and Enscape will spit out BIM information about that element. Completely wonderful. Digital twin, talk of the town, right? Bidirectional information going from the as-built, being thrown around between the as-built and the virtual model. Really, really great for facilities management. Absolutely wonderful when you're at the stage of post-occupation. Now, this is the fun part. This is where you know you're going to see me get really animated. There might be some hair flying around. I might actually go down on my knees, raise my hands up to the heaven. Just, bear with me while I do so, because data and model hygiene are two major passions of mine. So, housekeeping. Purge the model. One of my favorite ways of doing so is by using PyRevit. I think I've seen some of you in the next room when Jean-Marc was walking us through his absolutely wonderful presentation on the stuff that PyRevit does. PyRevit is one of my favorite things. When I started at Fishbeck, the first thing I did was throw an absolute tantrum because PyRevit was not on my machine. So even though Revit does allow us to purge and selective purge, but there are some things which it will not purge for us. For instance, you've got viewports. Any of you been completely befuddled by the viewport type that's not going away? Go to PyRevit. It'll get rid of that for you in addition to a whole lot of other things. Another important thing to do, audit. Periodically, please audit your model. It'll take a few minutes, maybe a few more mouse clicks, but you know what? In the long run, it's going to save you a bunch of grief. Compact. One of the interesting things that you may not be aware of about compacting your model periodically is you save sync with compact twice, maybe 3 times. Twice works for me. For some reason, Noman thinks that you should go 3 times. What that does is it overwrites the Revit database, and it gives you a nice clean file, which actually may be smaller in size than what it was. A definite lifesaver. Family drama. Now, what you see over here, again, PyRevit, duh, couldn't live without that. Family quick check. Run family quick check occasionally on your model. Now, when do you know that that family is corrupt? Your model is slow to open, your model doesn't open. Or when you right-click on a family in the project browser to edit it, you can't. Revit just sits down and it does not do anything for you at all. In that case, what do? You would go to your library and you would reload the family. An easier, less painful way, just hit Family Quick Check in PyRevit, and it spits out the name of the family that's bad, and you can reload it easily. To stay on the topic of families, and this is a situation that arose maybe, a day or 2 before I thought I was done with the slide deck. At that point in time, I was not, but I just thought I was. I suddenly get this cry for help from a project coordinator, maybe a day or so before sheets were to be issued. Door schedule with all of these blank spots. Now, some background. A large commercial project for an owner who owns a chain. So we had a certain library that we had to work with. That library was not Fishbeck standard. It did not have our custom parameters. As a result, those families did not talk to the Fishbeck door schedule. That was an interesting 48 hours. Me loading in all of the shared parameters. Clash detection in the cloud is something that's super cool. What I really like about this, about clash detection in ACC, is that you do not have to get into all the acrobatics required with working with Navisworks. You end up with these lovely, colorful graphics. They're easy to share. They're easy to assign. Life is wonderful when you do stuff like this. You must have heard people talking about Dynamo ad infinitum all day today. It's amazing the kind of stuff that Dynamo will do for us. One of the most important and most fascinating uses for Dynamo that I have found has been in the case of QCing, quality control on your models. And of course, Noman can never come up with anything simple. He has got this Dynamo script that will upgrade and clean up and add shared parameter to your family or project. Interesting. I've got an over-modeling story for you. Normally between the hours of 4 and 6 a.m., I am a Directly.com expert, and I'm looking at trouble tickets. It's kind of nice that I'm on my phone scrolling through, find something interesting, answer, you know. I may actually have solved somebody's problem. Question from a student. The student was concerned because their wall type would not clean up the intersections nicely. Looked at the wall type, asked for a sample file, looked at the wall type. The student had 1 millimeter thick layers modeled on each side of the wall type. Question, hey, what are those 1 millimeter layers? That's paint, that's wall covering. Seriously? You don't model that. No, we have to model that because we have to estimate our quantities. Honey, no, you do not model wall coverings. You do not model paint. You leave that aside for spec to address. You do not talk about that. So let's take a look at some common warnings. Rooms not enclosed, multiple rooms in the same region happens a lot. Identical instances, stairs not reaching the top, duplicate type marks. Now, you know, these are exceptions these are actually mistakes that Revit allows you to make. And Revit just kind of stands back with a smile on its face and goes, let her make all the mistakes that she wants to, and I'll get her. When I want to, when I'm ready, I'll just get her for that. You do need to be proactive about this. You do need to clear warnings periodically, try to resolve as many of the issues that you can. There is a warnings reviewer, it's a free app which could possibly help you out with this. Dashboards have been a hot topic for quite some time. I would think ever since AU 2019, which was the first time that I saw a presentation on dashboards. Dashboards will pull information from things like the BIM interoperability model checker, from the artist validation tool, and just file all of that together and give you this lovely, colorful graphic, which you could run periodically, show it to your team, and then most probably you'd have 90% of them ignore you for that. All right, interoperability. Ooh, my soapbox again, CAD files. I am the anti-CAD girl. If I had my way, CAD files would have nothing to do with Revit. But you know what? That would have been a perfect world. It isn't a perfect world, right? We always have CAD files coming in from kitchen designers, from interior designers. My biggest pet peeve, the CAD files that we get from our civil department, because those are exported out of Civil 3D. Some of them are exported out of MicroStation, and those stories are too long. I mean, you know, they're going to come after me with pitchforks if I try to tell you that story. So you know what? If required at all, you want to bring your CAD files into your model with care. Please do not import them. Please, please, please don't. And once you've imported them, please, please, please do not explode them. The exploded CAD files, they just vaporize. You can never find them again. But they're sitting in your model, just making mischief for you. True story, March 2020. Before that, Fishbeck was Panzura-based. Our network was on Panzura. We were away from BIM 360. BIM 360 was evil until Friday the 13th in March, really Friday the 13th, when the decision was made to switch over to BIM 360. Guess what I did over that weekend? Me and 5 of us at home. I was on crutches, I was hurt. And we were dealing with insufficient internet because all of us had entertainment standard internet, not BIM 360 standard internet, and we were throwing more than 200 models. Once I went in there with the machete, they uploaded smooth as silk. However, even though I'm definitely not a CAD person, this really made me stop and think, Rhino, wow, recently we had a new hire come in, doesn't know Revit to save her life, but she comes in with a lot of Rhino experience. I was excited. She was forgiven everything at that point of time because you can link Rhino, you can import Rhino. And when the Rhino geometry comes in, it will come into a Revit category. You can control its layers. It's cuttable. You can do a whole bunch of other things. The Revit extension exported to IFC. Hey, I'm across the pond. I have to talk about IFC, right? This is something which gives us updates, and the updates are independent of the updates that take place with Revit. And this does improve the IFC performance. You know, once you've downloaded and installed this, you're not going to see anything different happening on Revit. But it does improve the existing IFC export performance. Another good friend of mine, Matt Wunsch at Autodesk, was giving a talk about mobile cloud collaboration, the PlanGrid mobile app on an iPad. What really blew my mind away was gyroscope mode. And here, you know, Matt was showing us, and he's got his iPad, and he's turning it and twisting it and navigating around the model, and that was just, wow, that was completely cool. I was completely geeked by that. Closeout is the boring time. You know, this is the time when things get kind of sad, or maybe not, you know. A suggested sequence, make sure to publish your model. Because unless you publish your model and you try to download it, Revit will only see whatever was there at the time of the last download. By the way, if somebody tries to open the model and do a save as, that is not entirely incorrect. Time-taking, yes. Inconvenient, definitely yes. But it's doable. Once that is done, open the source file, clean it up, please clean it up, and archive it wherever your organization tells you to do. Or take a look at the as-built export from ACC. Does not exist in BIM 360. Or else you could just go old school and print out a PDF and put it aside as a digital rack set. And once that is done, your project can be archived, put to bed, at key milestones, at project closeout, whatever. So in some concluding thoughts before I finally step down here and you can breathe a sigh of relief. You are the resource. Your knowledge, your skills, your experience can save your company, can save your team a bunch of time, and you know what? A bunch of embarrassment. Another true story. Yeah, I've got a lot of them. I tend to hold on to things and I never forget. I get this frantic phone call from a project coordinator directing me towards a project, asking me to look at the PDFs for that project. I looked at the reflected ceiling plan in the project, view looked great. When I looked at the PDF, the ceiling was gone. There was no ceiling. The PDF had been issued to site. The building was in an advanced stage of construction without the ceiling, until somebody actually went in and went, hey, where's our ceiling? At that point of time. So I went into the model, went through the regular hoops, you know, view template, filters, materials, properties, couldn't figure out what went wrong until I cut a section through the ceiling. There were two ceilings superimposed on each other. And the PDF only saw the incorrect ceiling, did not see the correct ceiling at all. So you know what, ladies and gentlemen? It is your ability, your initiative, your intuition that can actually dig down to the root of a problem and save your company a whole bunch of time, a whole bunch of money, and prevent your company from getting into a whole bunch of embarrassment. You know what? Sometimes not so smart may be the more efficient way to go. With that, thank you for your time, thank you for attention, your patience, And I've loved talking to you.